When I first woke up years ago, I wasn't on a spiritual path. I had a death experience where I was stabbed in the heart in a lucid dream. Died. When I woke up, I could see, the entire full spectrum of presence of love and beauty. The beauty was just beyond description. And the love I felt was something that I've never experienced humanly before. And so I was at one with his presence. And I had to discover what had happened to me. That put me on the path. It was an insight that put me on the path. So there'd been moments of that continued to guide my movement. Last January, I was about to do a podcast or Zoom or something, and I was sitting and I was meditating before. And when I opened my eyes, I was blind. I couldn't see. It was just, the light was overwhelmingly around me. So I had to call in Lee and Reverend Kathleen and say, I can't see, I'm blind. I can't do the class right now. I don't know how long this is going to last. But I was in total bliss, total ecstasy, but the light was so bright I could see nothing. And then little by little, I could start to see in this dimension, the light was still blazing. And then Reverend Kathleen was to my right and Lee was on my left. And when I looked at them, I could see this filament of light moving through them like a fountain. And that was their real identity. I could see that we are the light. We're really light beings, for real. That people like to use that phrase, but that's our real identity. We're pure consciousness. We're light. And I say that to say I've had those particular moments, but that was the first time that happened publicly. I've had them alone, but that had never been with people around me, So they were a little worried. And I was like, you don't need to be worried about anything. I just don't know how long this is going to last, And so it's a moment where the demarcation dissolves, and you're at one with everything, everything. The lint in the rug is glimmering and glowing with the presence. Everything is alive. I don't even know afterwards. No words about it.
Yeah,
you feel in love. I remember speaking in Tacoma, Washington, and when I got off the plane, I was in one of those states, and I actually thought, this was many years ago, I thought I knew everybody at the airport. I was just so, hi, give me a hug. And I was in the elevator, and Bill said, what are you doing? I said, what are you talking about? All my friends are here. He said, Michael, you're having an experience. You don't know anybody in the airport. And I said, oh, I just kind of clammed up a little bit, I mean, now I know when it's happening, I don't go out and try to hug everybody, but I do a little bit,
yeah,
But everybody has access to this. Thing about it is, a lot of people are doing it now, having pinpricks of that through plant medicine. They're doing psychedelics and things like that, But eventually, you have to be able to have a level of practice where it becomes stabilized, integrated and stabilized.
I think that certain remote viewing experiences and experiences where you can really validate your intellectual mind and feed it as, okay, this is really real because other people are witnessing it, can be a really powerful thing. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people that have these kind of transcendental, altered state, awakening experiences don't have context, and it doesn't make any sense logically, and they feel like they're becoming schizophrenic or they're losing their mind. And I think it's really sad because there's maybe a lot of really valid experiences. Sure, some I'm sure just schizophrenic experiences. But, I know that you had many experiences that you didn't have context for at the time. You felt like you were losing your mind.
I did.
So can you share a little bit more about that in your own journey, but then also for people that are listening that either have had that or know people that are going through that, what to do, how to help them?
Yeah, I gave you the short version of that initial story, but during that time, I did think I was going crazy. I was in the psychobiology department at USC, and I was keeping these experiences to myself because I wasn't going to tell my psych teacher, that I'm leaving my body and seeing things and hearing voices and seeing visions. And it wasn't until I was stabbed in the heart that I realized the validity of what was happening. But I read a book many years ago called The Natural Depth in Man by Wilson Van Dusen. He was a psychiatrist. It helped me a lot. because he had studied schizophrenia. He had studied all these pathological states. And he was also a student of Emanuel Swedenborg. And so he was able to discern that these people that appeared to be schizophrenic were actually authentically going into other dimensions. They just didn't have the necessary corridor capacity to bring that consciousness into this dimension. They weren't strong enough emotionally or something to that effect. But he proved that these dimensions that they were describing were real. And then some of them, their ego would snatch it, and they thought they were special. You know, I'm Napoleon Bonaparte, I'm Jesus, or something to that effect. That helped me a lot to realize, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. You know, and then I discovered Walter Russell. Walter Russell is probably the greatest mystic to emerge out of America. He was, so he taught me, he was one of my teachers on the other side. And he was a magnificent being, scientist. He invented the duplex. He showed the elements in the empirical, the charts.
Mm-hmm. Periodic table?
Yeah. He showed a lot of those before science proved it. He's a multimillionaire. He raced horses. He was an ice skating champion at 69 years old. He was a Renaissance man. He went into cosmic consciousness and wrote his books without any editing, like 12 volumes, called The Secret of Light. And so when I don't know how I even bumped into this guy, but I bumped into him, I mean, his teachings. And when I saw some of the experiences he had, I was able to relate to it. I said, oh, because I had lost my friends. People thought I just freaked out, you know. And I said, oh, so he became a grounding point for me. Natural Depth in Man became a grounding point for me. Then when I studied the mystical teachings of Jesus, the mystical teachings of the Buddha, they became grounding points. Matter of fact, back in those days, my name was Paramatman. I changed my name, you know, because I was in these very high ecstatic states. And so I changed my name because as I was studying the Upanishads, that name lit up. I said, okay, that's my name. And I kept it for a couple of years. I did some writings around it. But then I wanted my Michael guy to evolve. So I wanted him to evolve. I didn't want to be like way up here and him like I'm channeling something. I didn't want to do that. And so I embraced Michael and let him evolve into the higher states.